How do we know when someone is important? How do we know when a moment is important? How does God prepare a child who becomes a teenager, who becomes a woman? How does God prepare that person for a revelation? There's so many people on our planet, so many people who are on a journey, who are immigrants, who are moving from one place to the next. So many people whom the world says they don't count. They're all in a boat and they don't count. No matter if the boat is big and luxurious or small, so many are turned away. Are they turned away because they don't count? Think of Mary in Bethlehem. So we look at this young woman, Helena. Nobody could have told her that she was on a journey to something monumental. She tried many times to get into the convent, and yet her path was blocked because she was too poor. She was turned away. Was that experience needed? Plus the hard work. She was only given the job of something very simple to do in the convent. She was considered expendable, someone who really didn't have a big impact upon the life of the convent. And yet, we remember, God chooses the lowly. God chooses the humble. God finds a way to choose the ones whom the world thinks are of no account. He chose Helena, who becomes Faustina, who becomes messenger, who sees what others have not seen. And she brings forth in her life a vision of Jesus that's needed. It comes forth between two wars, the First and the Second World War, and it's to prepare the world for the good times and the very difficult ones. She can't paint. She will need another person to help her to paint. But why is that important? How come she was not given the gift of being a painter? It's all part of God's plan that points to the mystery of love and sacrifice. Helena, God's chosen. Faustina, the sister at the end of the line. She was to suffer, Faustina, from tuberculosis. Think of the painter as he's listening to this young woman, this young sister. How easy it would have been for him to discount what she's imagining or thinking as if it was just a dream that she had. And yet he takes her seriously. And the sufferings that come to Faustina are almost like a sign that God isn't working here, that something important is happening, even though the world can't see it. Even the sisters in the convent couldn't see that something really important was happening with this sister. So we see God working in our world, trying to heal, trying to bring forth new life. And yet, that new life involves people who are willing to suffer in His name, people who are willing to cling to Him, to trust in Him, even when the outward signs indicate that God is far away. Faustina, for our times, in the light of the risen Lord. It was for a great reason that Pope John Paul II asked the Universal Church right after the Feast of the Resurrection to see the risen Lord as the divine mercy. That the reason for his resurrection being known is precisely so that he could communicate divine mercy. So now is the week as we're leading up to this feast. We think about Faustina and her journey to be the messenger, to share with the world the face of the risen Lord. That's what the painting of the Divine Mercy is all about. It shows us the face of the risen Lord and what's in the heart of the risen Lord. It's not recrimination. It's not judgment. It's not anger at being abandoned. From his heart are coming the water and the blood. The water of healing, the water of baptism, the water of new life, and the blood, the transfusion, the gift, the promise of new life through his sacrifice. Faustina was rejected. At the end, her life was considered of little account. The beautiful painting which she had commissioned from her spirit ended up neglected, put away in a corner in an abbey. And it would have remained that way if not for a young man who was to journey towards great responsibility in his own country and in the world. That young man remembered Faustina, remembered her journey, and never forgot what she offered to the world. That young man, our great Pope, John Paul II, the Pope for new evangelization in our world. Amen.